Everybody, welcome to this flipped lunch and learn about creating rubrics using AI. The tool that we are going to be using today is called MagicSchool. MagicSchool is a great AI website that has a ton of different bots that you can use to help support and make your life a lot easier. You can see as I'm scrolling through, there's things like student work feedback, teacher jokes, email family templates, everything that you can think of, youtube video summarizer, everything you can think of is here on MagicSchool that to be used. I've favorited a few here at the top of my account, but today we are going to be working on the rubric generator. So inside of the rubric generator, you see that it's a really simple form to use. You can come in, choose your grade level, and then you start adding your information to help create that rubric. So you can see I've dropped my standards. We're going to use 5th grade as this first example. I've got both reading and Bible standards dropped in. I've created the assignment title and description. I've put it to a 4-point scale, which is what we use. And then I've added some additional customization to the rubric. Then you just simply click generate, and then let MagicSchool do its work. And you will see that the rubric formulates right in front of you. Now, what you can do from this point, obviously you can see how it lays out. Is it giving you clear instructions, good descriptions of the criteria, things like that? We're going to talk about how to edit that in a few minutes. But the next pieces that you can do here, if I move myself, there are options and other actions that can be done to the rubric as you go. So let's say that we are happy with this. This is at least a good start for us. Well, if I can click on actions here, I can translate the rubric. I can change the length. I can summarize it. I can do some custom things to it. But the questions piece is very interesting because I've created now, I have this idea they should be reading Matthew and Luke. I want them to have some comparison and contrast, but maybe I want to have some other extended discussion in the classroom. I can click on questions. I can click on free response, and it's going to generate those 5 questions based on the rubric criteria above. So now, not only do I have a rubric to start with, but I also have some questions that I can, at least some discussion questions that I can start with. It also gives other resources and ideas along the way. If I click on actions and I click on length, I can choose the shorter or the longer rubric. If I want to summarize it, I can summarize the rubric more into a specific style if I wanted, but we'll try that in another example. The next steps, though, I wanted to suggest, you can copy the rubric, you can save the resource, you can export it into Google Docs and whatnot. Exporting it to Google Docs works great for me and my organization. What I would actually like to do is I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to put it actually into a Google Sheet. Different ways to store your rubrics and to save them for future use. One way that I prefer is using a Google Sheet as a backup. I might have the rubric located on the actual activity or the assignment that I have created, and that might be shared into your Rubicon or wherever you're keeping your curriculum. But this way I can have all my rubrics in one place, and down here on the bottom tab, if I slide myself over, you can see I have different tabs for different courses, and that's what we're going to do in our examples today. But you could do it by semester, you could do it by project, by unit, by lesson, however you'd want to do it. And it's very simple. I copied the rubric off of MagicSchool, and I simply come in and I paste, and you can see that it automatically drops it into those columns and rows. And if I do a little bit of reorganization here with the text wrapping, and just to clean it up a little bit, I can make this a little bit easier to read and to work with along the way. So then here's my rubric. Now I can go in, I can make edits if I wanted. I can edit it in MagicSchool as well. But if I came back the next year and I said, I just want to make minor edits, it's all right here and it's easy to go. The other place that we can start to work with rubrics is actually in Schoology. Where you're going to be living is your resources. So you can see my resources here, and under your resources, I've actually created a folder that's called Bible Rubrics, And so I'm going to open that up, and then I'm going to add a rubric here. By doing this, when I have an assessment specifically to this rubric, I can just pull it directly to the assessment. I don't have to recreate it. So this is the creation process for a rubric. So we can see on my MagicSchool rubric that I've got 4 criteria here. So I'm going to add 4 criteria. And then all I'm going to do is very simply copy and paste. This is not ideal. Ideally, we would be able to take this and put it into a spreadsheet and drop it into Schoology and it would work. But unfortunately, that is not how Schoology likes to play when it comes to rubrics. So this is where we are at this point. Hopefully a new opportunity comes in the future as they figure out more ideas. But you can see very quickly copy and paste each criteria into the rubric, putting it as a 1 to 4, and then once you're done, you create that rubric and it is saved for you here. So if I just put quick titles in and I click create, now the rubric shows up here and I can pull it into any assessment that I might want to try. Example. Again, we're going to go into our rubric generator and we are going to choose now a 6th grade. This is going to be social studies, and this actually was a simulation project that 6th grade social studies did just recently. They passed on their standards to me, and so I've just dropped them in. We're going to call this simulation, and again, descriptions can be there. We're going to just fill it out. Just to have it there, we're going to go on a 4-point scale, and then if again customizations can be brought in. I'm going to generate this rubric. Don't worry about if it comes back, but now you can see it's developing in front of us. We see the standards, we see there how it is breaking them down, creating that parallel language in the different criterias of the rubric along the way. Again, you can shorten this. So if I wanted to take this and I wanted to make it shorter, it's rewriting it to make it 50% shorter, okay? It also simplified the language a little bit. So again, if you are thinking about that, maybe this original one with the specific standards is good for an overall summative of the project, but I want to simplify it for student language. Making it shorter creates that a simplified version for students to be able to maybe have a different perspective on the project. Again, other actions, if I wanted to summarize it into bullet points, then it's going to take that and give me just a quick breakdown about what the rubric is about. So as you have your rubric and you want consistent language in your project about what's being evaluated, now you can take that rubric and break it down into those specific bullet points to share with the students and say, hey, these are the expectations of what is going to be happening in our project. Okay, the last action that I wanted to attempt with this one, again, we can customize it, but is to translate. Now, typically this doesn't happen except on extreme cases where a student might need it translated, but if we come here and we're going to go into Cantonese, and we are going to translate the message in the bullet points into Cantonese. Now we have a translation there that we can use to inform parents or to help students if you have a student who's particularly struggling with the language and the process of what is expected in the project. So it's not just a rubric generator, but it does offer a lot more options to help you work and develop that rubric, but ultimately you are the driver of this process. And so again, I would encourage you to use the information on the rubric to help create clear expectations. You can't be at the Lunch and Learn Live. What's better than a flipped video? Thanks for watching. Hopefully this gives you some ideas and some direction when it comes to creating rubrics using an AI tool. Remember that our series of Friends with AI is going to continue next week with looking at feedback for teachers. Thanks, everybody.